Salutations all, and welcome to Intro to Communication. I am your Professor Christy Thomas, and this is the video that breaks down the assignment for the verbal communications and messages lesson for this week. I want to say first, if you see me looking off the screen, my work computer's off to the side, and I create all of your assignments as a Word document so that I can pull and discuss it and break it down if need be. Some of our assignments don't need extra explanations, but sometimes I think when it comes to using examples and stuff, we need a little extra, and that's with this one. As always, in your module are the lessons, and that's a Word document, a PowerPoint presentation, previously recorded video lessons, and then there's an extra Word document discussing the more in-depth detail of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis in relation to communication and language. All right. So for this week's assignment, we start off, we've learned that we're talking about verbal messages and communication. If you remember, in this day and age, in the year 2023, so in the 2020s, verbal communication, and it's not just been the 2020s, but verbal communication is not just the actual words that leave our mouth. It's also what we type, what we send, all that, technology also now comes into play with our verbal as well. But let's get into it, shall we? So, as I said, in this lesson, we've learned that language is a system of symbols. This is words, vocabulary, structured by grammar, which is rules and standards, and syntax, and that's the patterns and arrangement of words. It's common to a community of people. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis suggests that language and thoughts are so interrelated that thought is rooted in and controlled by language. The limits of your language may be the limits of your thoughts. What this pretty much sums up is that where we live or were raised or perhaps moved to geographically, it has an effect on our language. And I say that because if you think of the United States alone, and it's not just language as in foreign language, of course there's going to be some barriers in verbal language when it comes and you don't know the other country, another nationality's language, but it's also geographically. If you think it's, the difference between a southern and northern, or Midwestern, or East versus West Coast, whatever the case may be. And even in the state of Kentucky alone, there's various accents. Some places are more deep Southern accents. Some hold truer to a more Midwest dialect. And, the further south you go, there are dialects there, and same with Northern dialects. A Chicago dialect is different than a Boston dialect, or a New York dialect, or a New England. All that falls, and it's where we were raised, what we grew up in, and words, meanings that we put to words and phrases may not be the same meanings in some areas. And that's where the connotative and denotative comes in. And remember, connotative is what the implied meaning of a word that we put to it. Denotative is the dictionary definition of that word. So I say that because think of drinks alone. If you go somewhere, some people may call it a cola, some may call it soda, or pop, or Coke. It doesn't matter what they sell, they want a Coke. That's all part, it all means a drink, but it's a different word that people use. Or some people call them shopping carts, some people call them buggies. And it's really based on where we were raised, both geographically and locally, and within your family itself. Your family may have different words for things than others have. So it may be a little confusing. Anyway, let's build off that. The limits of your, sorry, I already said that, but the 6 important aspects of language are: people use words as symbols, something that represents something else. Peace, bye, hi, think of greetings. People attach meanings towards, and sometimes the meanings differ. And we just discussed that. What we attach meaning to certain words or phrases may not be the same as someone else. People use denotative and connotative meanings for words. People convey concrete and abstract meaning through words. Meanings are culture bound and meanings are context bound, which are very true, you know. Not just, it's geographically and globally. So, locally, geographically, and globally, there we go. Words are extremely powerful. They can create, label our experiences, communicate our feelings, affect thoughts and actions, shape, reflect our culture, and make or break our relationships. Words also are powerful in the sense of the imagery that is created through a certain word or phrase. We're going to dive deeper to that in just a hot second. So for this assignment, you are to reflect on the power of words. I want you to chat about 3 examples, about a paragraph per example for this assignment. You can just chat how words or phrases have power, how they can evoke imagery, how they can evoke emotion, how they can build you up, how they can sway you to try something new, how they can remind you of nostalgia, or how they can affect a person in the way of imagery or their persona to the world. We'll dive deeper into this. And I put in italics, you'll see more of that in provided. There are many places that you can recall or choose reflection from. So, recap this assignment for Words Have Power. You are to discuss 3 examples of the power of words. And this is just emotions evoked. It could be, and we'll dive into the different examples, or it could be the imagery created, or how words can, the negative or positive reaction of words or phrases can have on someone. You can talk about how words or phrases can sway us to try new adventures, new things, new items. How certain words and phrases are very nostalgic. They bring you back into memories. But what we're really talking about is the power. So let's talk about different examples you can pull from. So you can recall how words have affected a particular situation in your immediate world. Think along the lines of words that you've spoken or words spoken to you and the effect that they have. Now, you don't have to go into specific details and be like, well, it was April 25th, da-da-da-da-da. You could just be like a conversation, an interaction, a fight with, or, you know, between this person. I said this, or this was said to me, and you can talk about how the particular word affected you, or phrase, or words affected you in that moment. You know, I said this, I felt bad, or I was so elated. You know, I just screamed this emotion because I was so happy because I had no other way to properly show how happy I was. Or perhaps you talk about how in a communication between you and someone, how happy or sad or the emotions that it evoked. Maybe someone was telling you that they loved you for the first time, or you were telling someone that you loved them for the first time, or perhaps wedding vows, or perhaps, you know, moving in with someone, or perhaps when you stood your ground against someone like a friend or a frenemy, whatever the case may be, and how good you felt about yourself. How you took that moment in time to be like, hey, I don't appreciate, I don't like, I'm not a fan, but you took up for yourself. Or maybe your sibling or your child or a family member or friend, someone said words to them and those words affected you. You know, perhaps they were called names, or, you know, an example of that is if my kids come home and, you know, I ask them about their adventures at school that day, and they will tell me the good and the bad. Well, so-and-so said this, or so-and-so, you know, or I had a great day. And it's helping building them up, using affirmation words and talking to them. Well, you know, I'm sorry that you feel so bad, or, you know, how did those words affect? And my kids do this a lot too, and they are younger. When they get upset, that immediate reaction and my daughters are very verbal with their reactions. They say just what comes to them. If they're upset, the words, they may not always choose the best words to describe their emotion, but their emotion by how they're saying it. So after there's been that cool down period, we discuss and we talk about what happened. Your words, I understand that you were upset, but those words are very hurtful type situation. So that's what I'm talking about here with the personal experience world. So you can choose an example from there. And they can be positive or negative or both. Sometimes they start negative and end positive. You can also recall how the power of words affects the speaker. You can think along the lines of like a politician or a political leader, how their choice of words or phrases can affect the image of them or affect their constituents and general public, how they use words or phrases to sway the public, or how has words or phrases they've chose affected how the public view them. An example, Bill Clinton went through the big scandal with Monica Lewinsky. And at first he said, I did not have, very famous lines but it came out that he lied to us. He lied to his constituents. He lied, and that imagery sticks very, it's there. So some political leaders are very careful in their craft of choosing words and phrases. Some are not as critical. Some have not been as critical. In our years and years and years and years, decades of political leaders, John F. Kennedy was a very good public speaker. So America followed, his image was that of a good public speaker, of a good leader, because, not just because, but he had that power of words. Richard Nixon was not known for a lot of, his choice of words also came back. And if you can also choose not to use just political leaders. I gave an example. You can discuss how celebrities or those in the limelight, I don't even want to say the limelight, but celebrities, athletes, folks that work in the music industry, the news, the televised news industry, this or that. We'll get back to that. I'll go ahead and get into it. That can affect as well. Some people hang on the every words of celebrities. And some celebrities will spew words or phrases or information out there without double checking, triple checking, or even without any cares or worries in the world. And it can be positive or negative. You can discuss how that can affect their status. Or last year at the Oscars, the infamous slap. Will Smith, prior to the slap, said, well, I won't go into exact quotes, but, take my wife's name out your mouth. And then the slap came. Now think of the backlash that Will Smith has happened because of that incident. And it's not just the words. There's also, but you get that imagery with the wording of the slap. So you can talk about that too. And then there are a lot of celebrities and folks that use their words and phrases for positive. They bring awareness to their platforms, or they bring awareness to issues that aren't maybe as well known. But they're not out there getting in trouble for things they say. And another way you can think of it is that quite a few folks have gotten in trouble, have gotten in hot water over tweets or videos from years prior that have resurfaced. And how their choice of words or a joke or phrase, even though not meant maliciously in some cases, how that affects people's image of them. And some people are still like building up, rebuilding their image in people's eyes. You know, the Dixie Chicks, they got in trouble for a long time for their, they didn't get in trouble, but their phrases and when they talked about President Bush. Well, a lot of people didn't like that. So, you know, it seemed to hurt their image. But that's what we're talking about. So you can use politicians, political leaders, celebrities, athletes, musicians, those in the field, executives and stuff like that. Just someone that the general public that you see. Or you can even talk about social media personalities. How words and phrases, the power of words, can be, you know, the positive or the negative of the power of words. How maybe it affects the public's image. So far we can talk. You can recall from personal life. You can talk about political or celebrities, just personalities that we see in the everyday world. Another one is you can recall from commercials and ads the power of words. Some businesses have amazing catchy slogans that immediately bring an imagery to you. And this is where imagery comes from. Think about it. Pizza, pizza. Finger looking good. Have it your way. America runs on Dunkin'. Eating good in the neighborhood. Those are all, they bring imagery. You know, pizza, pizza. I see the Little Caesars spokes dude. Finger looking good. I think KFC and the Colonel. You know, all that falls under. And then there's slogans that have a strong image as well. Only you can prevent forest fires. We want you. Give a hoot. Don't pollute. All that falls under it as well. And you think about like ads and stuff that you see like on television or radio or a commercial, whatever the case may be here. Especially if when you were younger. Or maybe your kids watch cartoons and stuff and the ads for the latest toy or electronic or whatever the case may be here. And kids are like, I want. That's the power of words and that's the power of ads. You can also get inspiration from films. Here is a bevy, a plethora to choose from. Films have so many phrases, taglines, and words that just give us imagery, evoke emotion, or convey a mood vibe. You can chat about how those words and their power. And if you have several films, you can do a film for each example, or you can do a personal for each example, or you can mix and match. I'm not saying you have to pull one from every. I'm just giving you examples of places you can choose from. So back to films is, you can chat about how these words and their power, you can chat about those words and the power to create and evoke emotion or imagery. Examples. I'm going to give you a list of films that have taglines and some have phrases and some have words. And they bring image, or some can evoke emotion. Okay, so like the film The Notebook. There's quite a few lines in there that bring imagery and can evoke emotion. Titanic. I'll never let go, Jack. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Dazed and Confused. Think of Matthew McConaughey's character. All right. That falls under there as well. Hocus Pocus. Sisters. Book. That falls under it. My Girl. I say My Girl because if we were in the same generation, you were brought up on that film. When she's crying. She's like, his glasses, he needs his glasses. Girl, that breaks me. Every single time, folks. Every single time. Just like Harry Potter. There are things in Harry Potter that break me. But, you know, always. You always are, Harry. Please, excuse my attempt at that accent. I don't want to butcher nor dull anyone's vision. Other Top Gun. Or Top Gun Maverick, but Top Gun, you know. Talk to me, goose. All that has imagery. Gone with the Wind. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Night of the Living Dead. They're coming for you, Barbara. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It has several. Bring It On. Oh, it's all, well, that was the joke one. I was going to say it's already been brought, but that was in the spoof film of it. But, you know, Bring It On. It's Cold in Here. Avengers, Hulk Smash. Princess Diaries. I take this and this, I give you a princess. Hunger Games. Lost Boys. Pretty Woman, Pulp Fiction, Indiana Jones, Never Ending Story, Dirty Dancing. All those have words and phrases, and every film has a word and phrase that creates imagery or evokes emotion, and you can discuss this, and so do TV shows. So you don't have to limit to just films. You can talk television shows as well, you know. So those are a few examples. If you have other examples to pull from, please do, you know. But for this assignment, let's recap. 3 paragraphs. Each paragraph breaks down, it doesn't really break down. You just give an example how words have power. It can be from personal experience, it can be from films, television, it can be from political leaders or personalities, celebrity personalities, athletes, journalists, musicians, executives, all that falls under that branch as well. You can bring inspiration from films, from ads, or slogans from like places, but you can discuss how they have power, positive or negative, how they can affect imagery, or imagery evoked, or emotion evoked, or mood or mood vibe invoked, or how words can build us up. Is also, you can discuss how words can knock us down, how words are helpful, how words can hinder. You know, let's just talk about the power of words. I give daily affirmations to my waddlings every morning before we go to school. If it's here in the house or in the car to school, I am doing daily affirmations. You know, you are awesome, you are smart, you are kind, you are brave. All that falls under power of words. I give to my daughters about you are strong, you are confident, you are beautiful from head to toe. I tell my kids, you know, beauty is everywhere. You know, these are just daily things of the power of words, you know. I remember getting into fights. I don't even want to say getting in fights, but, you know, when I was younger, verbal, well, I don't want to be your friend anymore. Stuff like that, how that hurts or how that affects. Or I had someone say, you're not the kind of girl you take home to mom. You know, words like that. Just the power that they have in that moment. And perhaps it's a driving force to move forward. Well, I'll show myself, or I'll do this or that, how it can affect you. Anyway, 3 paragraphs, 1 paragraph per example. Doesn't have to be anything. You don't have to go, if it's from personal experience, you don't have to go into crazy detail. Just talk about how the power of words, what was said. Did it positive, negative, or how they affect us? You know, we're in the age of body positivity, and how wording of slogans and companies have changed to be more inclusive, and how, you know, language has changed to be more inclusive in the last few years. Those are all great examples as well. Anyway, that's for this week's assignment. You have any questions, please reach out to me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks so much. Bye.